Hello and welcome to the Film Vomit Podcast, an extension of the Vomit series of podcast. First off, it's the guy who made a good choice in movies for once. It's Mac Taylor. Yes, I'm here to discuss Stakeland, and with me to discuss it is the man who probably lost faith in my abilities to select movies to watch. It's Cole Selby. How you doing, Cole?
Better.
Exactly, better.
Yeah, way better now. Like this, like very good time. Very good times indeed.
So we watched Stakeland from 2010, put out by Dark Sky Studios, which I'm familiar with Dark Sky for some of the stuff that they've done in the past. I had zero knowledge of what this movie was going into it. I just saw it was on Shudder, and it was about vampires. And I was like, okay, let's do it. Whatever. Like, it's different than what we've done. We did some demon stuff. We did some weed kind of porn. So, we were moving on to this. And because we hadn't done any vampire things on the show yet. And Cole, I know we talked about it a little bit before we got started here, but like my expectation was like meh level, and this movie was really good.
This movie blew away any expectation I feel like I could have had for it. Like it was a very, very good movie. It was insanely good.
And again, I don't know if that's because we've watched so much just either really strange things or really bad things, and this is just an actual like semblance of an actual film, or if it is like that good. Like I think it is just that good because I've watched some normal stuff since then too. But yeah, really enjoyed this one, and surprised it would take so long to make a sequel. The sequel didn't come until 6 years later. But let's go ahead. Let's dive right in. There's not a whole hell of a lot to talk about because the thing about this movie, there's a lot of narration, and then like some scenes will happen, but there's not a lot of dialogue. And it's just like you talk about what happens in the scene. There's a lot of mood, like silence building to tension, building to things. It's a very bleak movie.
Like this movie, like it knows how to tell a story through its setting, and
Yeah.
it's great. Like because they don't need that dialogue. I've never once thought I was missing something.
Exactly. It's a show don't tell. You see things happen, and people don't have to explain what's happening. You just see it, which is what good filmmakers do and what good writers do.
And it points even more so, like, and to the dialogue that is in the film, you want to pay attention to it because it's important. It automatically clarifies itself as extremely important because they don't talk much in the movie at all anyway. Like everything is either building character or furthering some sort of like the story of the characters in the movie. Like everything is just like, I mean, I'm not going to throw around perfect around, but it was very good.
And this also, which is strange because I just watched Army of the Dead. Army of the Dead mixed a lot of different zombie things together. This movie mixes it's like a zombie apocalypse, but with vampire rules.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting. And I think it's a unique thing you don't see, but like, so it gives like, when I thought it was vampires, I'm like, oh, there's gonna be like a group of vampires they're gonna have to stop. But no, it's like a zombie plague, but with vampires. So it's like a little cooler.
Yeah, and they show they show that whatever like sickness or whatever that this is, like it's different per like vampire. Like there's like subtypes of like vampires and stuff. And they even like go into like the tropes of do vampires hate garlic? And they're like, I don't know, but I'm gonna try it anyway because they might not.
Exactly, but the typical things to kill them, you have to stake them through the breastplate to the heart.
Yeah.
Or with the berserker vampires, you have to like basically give them a lobotomy in the back of the head.
Yeah, because they like run off like the left. I think it was like the left part of their brain. I think they said in the movie.
Yeah, he calls it reptile brain. but
reptile brain.
he's like basically it's like flipping a switch when you stake him in the back of the head. But so
Yeah.
that like they do establish the rules very quickly in the movie, and then they
Yeah.
just continue on. There's like not a lot of talking. It's more so just like there's a lot of just tension. Like if things are going good, you're waiting for it to go bad.
Yeah.
And then you also see the care, like especially Martin, like you see him like harden up and kind of like lose a lot of his faith in humanity as the movie
Yeah.
goes on. And it's an interesting dynamic, and characters just kind of come and go. Like there's no
Yeah.
like real
It's
like
it like you it's like you expect it to happen, but when it does happen, you weren't expecting it.
yeah. So
That's how it was for me.
we'll go ahead, we'll get right into it, like I said. But there's not, I don't have a shit ton of notes because the things are pretty straightforward, but I do have a lot of thoughts. And then I do have some research I did here at the end. So we start out, we meet Martin and Mr. So Martin's like a basic normal kid when all this got started, and his parents and I think baby brother, sister were murdered by a vampire in the barn. Because he went to chase after his dog, and luckily he did, because then everyone else was murdered, including a baby. Like they show a fucking baby getting ripped apart. Crazy.
I think that's what really stuck on the R rating. I guess that in the minor.
There is some gore here, but it's not. It's space.
Yeah.
But when the vampires show up, shit gets real every time.
Yeah.
And Mister basically shows up to take in Martin and also kind of like toughen him up for the world that he's being presented with. And we don't ever really know a lot of backstory to Mister, but we know something has happened to harden him. He's basically been dealing with a lot of the characters take a while to adjust to this world that they're in, but he seems like he's ready to go to do what must be done to survive in this vampire world.
Yeah, he's like the number one like dude. He is the guy. He is like the lone wanderer of like this apocalyptic wasteland.
Like when he meets
is
Martin too, I like how he's like, if you shoot me, I will fucking kill you.
Yeah. I just lay down the rules right there. It's like,
Yep.
I'll help you if you don't fuck up.
Exactly. And the tone, like I said, the tone of this movie, it's very bleak. There's a lot of just like slow music, like with these barren wastelands, these like small old western towns that just look like there's no hope.
It is very Western feeling in a lot.
Yes, that's the vibe I got every time they went to like a safe town. It just felt like the old west.
I mean, even Mister's like look, like he has like the sheriff's looking hat, and he has his 6-shooter like in his belt. Like it's very and it's like it's what, in the Midwest or like a
I'm not entirely sure. They said they start in the South.
Yeah.
And then they're going up to Canada. So they're essentially having to go that's a long journey to go from Southern America to, Southern Canada. That's a big jump.
Yeah.
We also see, he's got Martin in football gear, which is actually the football helmet is from the director's high school. I thought was kind of a nice little thing. And he's got a spear, and they got like a vampire stuck in the trunk that he's basically testing Martin's ability to get the job done.
Yeah, that's great. I thought that was kind of funny.
It's a nice way to open it. And again, nothing is explained. You see them driving. He shoots the trunk because you hear a bunch of noise in it, and then they pop up the trunk. Here comes a vampire. Martin sticks it. Like, there's no like, all right, this is your test. Like, oh, you got to do this thing. It's just, let's watch this happen.
Like it allows the audience to figure it out for themselves, because the audience isn't stupid.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And it lets you just figure things out as you go.
Yeah.
Which because there's a lot of downtime, you can do that. And basically they discuss how, the society has kind of fallen. Any like rich or like important people of the past have all fled to avoid, vampire death. No one wants to take responsibility for this.
Yeah.
and it's basically martial law. Kill or be killed.
Yeah.
And Mister also collects teeth of vampires to basically sell to people, like barter. They basically have a barter economy now.
Yeah.
What supply? Like he brings like medicines, marijuana,
Yeah.
vampire teeth, just anything that he can trade for. Usually liquor, but also food and supplies.
Like I like how like being a badass and like having like vampire teeth is like enough reason to let you in to like a settlement. Like
Well, because no matter where
that's
you
great.
go, people want dead vampires. Like that's
Yeah,
just
it's great.
you're out there doing the Lord's work, getting these
I do I
vampires
do
murdered.
I am curious about what the actual value it is of them. Like, is it just the thought of there being one less vampire
Oh no, he
there,
hands him the
or
vampire teeth, and he gets like a whole bottle of
yeah,
booze. So I mean,
yeah,
and I'm
they're
assuming
worth a lot.
booze seems to be few and far in this society now, because it's no one's making any more
Yeah,
besides like the homemade shit. So uh it's probably really expensive.
it's probably like a rarity thing. Like like
Mm.
it's not rare to see a vampire tease because like they'll fucking kill you most of the time. So
Yeah,
it's like, oh
like
shit.
most people aren't going around taking
Yeah,
trophies.
yeah. So like it just makes him a badass, and then like doesn't he just like kind of get free reign of just kind of getting what he wants?
Pretty much.
Yeah, like because he proves
Like
just how
he
much of
gets
a
the kid a
badass he
doctor's
is.
visit and a haircut,
Yeah.
and he goes to the bar and drinks, and I think he might have slept with someone. It wasn't super implied.
I like to believe so. Yeah.
um and I like how Martin says that we're all orphans here, because everybody in these towns now are alone. They're all having some sort of new life.
Yeah.
uh I like that concept of like everyone you meet has had tragic stories, because we've all had to go through this bullshit.
Yeah. Everyone has a tragic past now. God,
Yeah.
I can't say it. But yeah, it's pretty neat. I like how the movie portrays like what society would be like
Hmm.
in something like this.
Yeah, basically like we're all trying to get it together. We're all trying to go to
Yeah.
this new Eden place, but even the people in the safe towns that are just trying to exist and start over, uh it's interesting how like we fall back to the old way of society, of like the
Yeah.
bartering and all that stuff.
It's very tribal.
Yes. But
Feel
like
like.
it does seem like if something like this were to happen, this would probably be the way it would go.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you
Something
still
similar
got,
never
they
could
got
happen.
the religious cults and the people
Yeah.
out there, just trying to, murder and scavenge and all that. And basically anytime you leave a safe town, it's fair game. And anything is gonna happen. And also I like how when they pull up to the first town, like there's like a train blocking it with all the people like with the guns
Mhm.
armed by it, and they have to check them and stuff. But like, and they move
Yeah.
the train to let you in the town. I think that's really fucking cool. I just
That
like
was
that
cool.
set piece.
Yeah.
Uh, and everyone's concerned about Martin being, out there, but that's what he wants to do. Like even in the store, when the guy's like, there's nothing out there but cannibals and stuff, and he's like, this is all I know.
Yeah.
Like Mister says, you either live free or die trying.
Yeah.
Because at least with the hope of there being a new Eden, there's something to live for. Because
Yeah.
if there isn't one, and we just sit here and think about that, then why are we even trying to do anything?
Yeah.
So it's like, even though there's a slim chance it exists, we need to try to go to it. So I understand what that scene is kind of implying, and I like that, whereas a lot of people are like, but this kid needs to be with other kids. It's too late
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah. Like in this specific case, it's too late. It's too late
Yeah,
for Martin.
he's already seen his parents murdered, a literal baby murdered. And the only reason he's still alive is because of Mister, and he doesn't want to
Yeah.
turn his back on him, essentially.
Yeah.
So yeah, I liked that scene a lot. And again, very little is said, but it's just all in the body language.
Yeah, like it doesn't need to be said because we know they've said it already.
Mm. And the New Eden is in Canada because basically it's implied that it's too cold for vampires because they're cold blooded. Like most like reptiles, they enjoy warm climates,
Yeah, I
which is
guess that ties into like the can't go in daylight kind of deal.
yeah. So I don't know. I like that concept as well. Um, because they're, we're just in the wrong place because it's really warm in the South. So they kind of got fucked.
Yeah.
Um, and then there's also the Brotherhood, which is a religious vampire cult. Like they think the vampires were God's way of cleansing the earth. And basically like they execute people in the streets. They fucking leave people for vampires to eat. Really fucked up people. They rape people.
Yep.
All the time. And so they come across two of the Brotherhood members trying to rape a nun who they refer to in the movie as sister. Mm-hmm. And it's a really cool scene where basically Mister has this like tire iron stake that he just fucking throws in the guy's back and then just fucking slits the other guy's throat. Like, no, like they're begging for mercy. And he just said no words, just fucking takes him out real quick. And then they take sister in because, basically she's just like them at this point. She's alone.
Yeah.
What'd you think about this little quick action scene, Cole?
It was pretty badass. Honestly, it was pretty cool. It made me feel like it made me feel like Mister was like a part of like a comic book. He was like some comic book hero in his sense.
That was all we saw of the tire iron stake. I wish we saw more. Yeah. Because that was a really cool weapon.
And I like how they just kind of sat on it for a while too in the movie. Mm-hmm. Like they like we sit and we just see this guy like writhing in pain and like just wanting to die. And
because it's implied he died much later. Yeah. Because like he let him fucking suffer. And I was like, man, that was a really cool scene.
Yeah, but it was a really cool scene. And I like how these like high action moments are spaced with these extremely like long, quiet, somber moments throughout the movie.
And there's no like in a lot of these scenes there'd be like a music cue or like yeah. But no, it just happens, and then we're just left with like just the sounds of this kid screaming, and like this like very low somber music. Like it's even when they're doing what they have to do, it's not like, oh yeah, fuck yeah. It's more of like oh man, this is what the world is now.
Yeah, like no one likes doing this.
Exactly. So it's a very interesting tone that just keeps the whole movie. So they take her in, and she kind of grows close with Martin here because she kind of looks after him because he's still the kid of the group.
Yeah.
So they set up like a wire trap around where they're sleeping for the night, and they take a teddy bear and he cuts Martin's finger and puts blood on it. And basically has it near a bear trap. So basically, if a vamp comes around here, it's going to make noise around the fence, and they're going to spring into action. So it does, and it's one of the nuns that sister was with. He pulls the teddy bear into a bear trap, and then go out and just brutally fucking murders this thing. I mean, just fucks it up. And the whole time, sister hasn't quite come to terms with how the world works yet, And it's understandable her being a devout Christian, kind of hard to keep your beliefs in this new society. But Mister does do her a solid. He buries the body after he pulls the teeth out. Like he's a hardened dude, but he does have a heart. Like he does care about these people. It's just, he's like that hardened dad that doesn't tell you he cares about you, but it's just like he'll do anything for you.
I mean, he shows over and over again throughout this movie just how much he actually does care about other people and wants people to survive. But
exactly,
he has to look out for himself first.
I
think him and Martin.
Well, he knows no matter what, a vampire is a vampire. If you don't kill it, it's gonna kill you. You got to do it. That's why the whole movie he's trying to get Martin just to pull the trigger on it. Like you got to No matter what, if it's a kid, if it's a girl, if it's an older
Yeah.
woman, like you gotta fucking stake it. Like
Yeah,
it's gonna kill you.
and I love like like that specific like overarching like like theme of the
Mhm.
movie is like Martin like kind of like growing up and coming to terms himself.
Because it's hard for a kid
Yeah.
to learn these things. But it's not like he's not like, oh, like resisting. It's just like you could see it in his face if he's struggling just with the concept. But he knows that Mister is correct in what he's saying. There's no like moral objections, really. He's
Yeah.
just kind of getting that nerve to do it. It takes a lot to drive yourself over that edge.
Yeah. And he's supposed to be like, like, and he's supposed to be like 14, maybe.
I'm not
like
entirely sure his
13.
exact age, but he's basically, I'm assuming he's, like a puberty level kid because he like the scene with the
Yeah.
cards, the nudie cards, like you could tell like he's starting to get in that age.
I think that would be I think
Horrible
he'd be,
time
like,
to have to go through this.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think he'd be like 14.
Yeah, I'd say anywhere 14, 15, somewhere
14,
in that region.
15. Yeah, like definitely still a young kid, and
Yeah.
just now wanting to look at titties and such. I mean,
right, but it's like it's like kind of hard to go about this in this society.
Yeah, yeah.
So I do like that scene though where he takes the cards and then later you see him just kind of looking through them and then that's it. Like there's no it's not like overtly sexual. It's just like of course he's a teenage boy. He has interests in boobs. Like
he wants to look. I mean,
yeah. And then that's it.
Like this little bit of like there's
intrigue there.
Goodwill in this world here.
Exactly. Let's see here. So basically they move on. Sister stays with them, even though they said they would drop her off in the next town, but of course, where else is she gonna go? But they get tricked by the Brotherhood, where it looks like the Jonestown cult scene, where everyone's got cups and is passed out on the floor, and there's like a fake baby trap. Basically, the Brotherhood is trying to avenge the death of Jebediah's son, who got tire iron staked.
Yeah.
And so they tie everybody up. And he tells Martin, "Is like, is this your father?" And he's like, "My father's dead." And I'm like, "Oh, you done fucked with the wrong kid here, Jebediah."
Yeah, he is prime time for Edge.
Yeah, like Martin just dead face just looks at him, and I'm like, "Yeah, you're not gonna shake this kid. Like, he's gonna feel it on the inside, but all you're gonna do is piss him off."
Yeah. And I love the like during that like these moments, just how pissed off like Mister gets like with his with
like
his
literally spitting in the face of danger.
Yeah.
So they take Mister and they drop him with just one torch with all these vampires, and they assume that he will be murdered, but this is no average man.
No.
So he has one vampire bite his restraints and then proceeds to break that stick and fuck them up.
Yep. He is a badass.
And then in the morning, obviously he's not back at the Brotherhood camp. And Jebediah taunts Martin, says, you can run, but you won't make it very far. But Martin is reluctant to leave Sister, but she tells him to go, and she is raped then after he leaves. But again, it's not explicit. It's just implied, which again is appreciated. And so Martin makes a run for it, makes the car as nightfall gets there. He doesn't dick around.
Yeah.
But there's a vampire on the road, and he's like, "Oh shit." But just as the vampire charges, he is drug in the trunk by Mister, and luckily they have those seats that fall back into the car. And he has Martin trick the vampire with noise. They get in the car, run it over. That doesn't fucking work. Stab it in the face. That doesn't fucking work. Nope. And they just fucking drive it into a tree.
Yeah.
It was a really tense scene too.
Yeah, it was. The camera work when it was showing off the vampire in the road.
Very scary.
Very tense.
Because I was waiting, for the jump. And like very tense, and then just like very high energy. Like it had me going. I was having a good time with it.
And I liked it. I like how the movie it's like, other great horror movies where it doesn't have jump scares, or at least, not a lot of them, where it's
You're not
a
jumped by the
sudden,
noise, you're
loud,
jumped
yeah,
by
a
the
loud
action.
sudden noise. Like, yeah, you're not getting startled, you're actually getting
Yeah.
scared by the thing on screen.
Like the scare here is when she actually charges. It's not the
Yeah.
noise, it's her lunging.
Yeah.
There's a difference in that. Creepy imagery
Mhm.
and the actual movie scaring you is different from it just you being startled by a sudden noise.
Yeah. And there's multiple just like still scenes that are just
Where you're just waiting for shit
Yeah.
to happen.
Yeah.
And it actually does. It's not like Paranormal Activity where you just keep waiting for like an hour and a half and finally something happens. You can rewatch this movie, which I did, and it's still the same. It still feels like, the same tone. So again, brilliant fucking writing and tone here. And sound design. The sound design's awesome.
Oh yeah.
Let me find my place again. So basically, when they regroup, Martin's obviously worried about sister, but Mister's like, let it go. Like, she's gone. Like, we're not getting her back.
Yeah.
Which is, again, he has to basically he doesn't want to tell this kid she's probably dead, but
yeah,
that dims the facts. Like, they can't just go stage a rescue mission. They barely made it out alive themselves. So basically, they're heading to the next safe town. And you see, as they're entering the safe town, people are tying up vampires because the sun's starting to come up, and they basically it's like burning them at the stake, but without having to start a fire.
Yeah.
Which I like. And again, that's not like, they're not like, well, we're tying up these vampires for morning. You just see it happen. It's just an attention to detail that is much appreciated. And then in this town, Martin starts drinking because, yes, you've seen enough shit, kid. You can drink. And then here they meet the pregnant singer Belle, played by the amazing actress Danielle Harris. I was thrilled to see her in this movie. I was like, oh my God, it's an actress I'm very familiar with.
Yes.
And basically she's looking to have her baby in the New Eden, because you don't want to raise an actual literal child in this world.
Yeah.
And so they find this house where the people have been murdered by vampires in it. And they basically are gonna, set it up to sleep in. So they dump the bodies. First, Mister always checks to see if they're vamps. He always checks with this little thing to pull the gums back to see if they have the teeth. So again, another just small detail thing, and it never like becomes an integral scene. It's just a detail, because you should definitely check these things.
Yeah, and it's all like it's in his character. Like,
he's very careful.
Of course, Mister would do that.
Exactly. And so they get all set up and they have a dinner, and it just everything feels nice for a second.
Yeah. And I like how we don't need to like hear them say anything to understand that they're getting closer. Like, like
it just happens.
Like bonding. Like, we don't need to actually be like, we understand that it's happening over this.
Mm-hmm. And so, it's basically, they have to find these moments in this bleak new world of like normalcy, whether it's a dinner, being in a town with other people, finding a nice place to sleep. Like it's like, oh man, this is what like living in the real world was like before. Like, isn't that nice? And it's usually followed by something really fucked up.
Yeah. Like, and even though like these kinds of moments are kind of, few and far between, we do spend time,
yes,
in them. To like we get to indulge in it just as much as the characters do, because you
need that break
these
before the next tense scene. You need that little bit of reprieve, and it also makes the next scene that much more tense because you had that breath. You got to let scenes marinate, and not everything has to be like go 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 go.
Yeah,
you can slow it down if the movie type can benefit from it.
Yeah. And a lot of horror movies are kind of like that, where they have like a slower start and then they just kind of rev it into gear
like
and keep going.
Usually in horror, once that first kill happens, it's keep going to the next one, keep going to the next one. There's not a whole lot of breathtaking, like, where you're like, oh man, let me calm down from that. Here, it's like you have an intense scene, and then you'll have a long little bit where you can breathe and get back to, and then bam, it happens again. But it's always out of nowhere. It's things you don't
Yeah.
have it like build as much. It's more of like up, and then here's this thing that breaks that nice
Yeah.
scene.
I think it really shows how that horror can be more than just like a visual spectacle, and actually like solidifies it as a great storytelling. Like, of course, there's other movies that do this, but this is
World
another
building.
one of those. Yeah, another one of those that just shows like the work that can be put into a horror film.
So after this nice dinner and everyone's looking around the house, Martin finds a child vampire, which was the freakiest thing in this entire fucking movie to me, because
Yeah.
she's there like asleep, and
Mhm.
he goes to like touch her, and then her eyes open and she smiles.
Yeah,
That got me.
yeah, that
That
was
got
weird.
me. I was like, ooh shit, like that's not cool. And he runs downstairs and he's like, they call him scampers.
Yeah.
And he's basically like trying to psych himself up to do it, to,
Yeah.
to stake her. And she comes downstairs and he kind of distracts her long enough for Mister to get behind her and hold her down. And Mister could have staked her himself, but he's like, do it. Like, she was going to kill you, do it.
Mhm.
And then he actually does hammer the stake
Yeah.
in. Because again, Mister is like prepping Martin for a time where he may not be there to save him.
Yeah.
So
And
I like
like
that.
this like, and really this scene was like when Martin is distracting the scamper.
Mm.
It's so eerie.
Yes,
And
because you
like
see it just like looking at him a certain way and like slowly creeping, because she doesn't run. She
Yeah.
like, walks leisurely down the stairs and kind of like slowly goes up to him.
And I think this is like our first really like showing of how different and complex that these vampire creatures are. Like they won't just immediately, like sometimes won't just immediately lunge at something, but they're creatures and they're curious sometimes. And it really like broadens just
Especially this child one.
weird they are. Yeah, especially this child one. Like it was very like the face. I didn't like the way the face looked. It was very creepy.
It was very creepy.
Like,
very well done. All the makeup on the
yes.
vampires is very well done.
Mhm.
But yeah, it was very effective. And then like the horror on Belle's face as Martin is just straight facing, fucking doing this. It was very nice. Like I was like, well done.
Like, and then it's after that I think you see a shift in her as well.
Yeah, because she becomes very cold after this too.
Yeah, like that's when she starts carrying the gun and start using it, I believe.
I mean, especially her, she's pregnant. She's got a lot to look out for.
Yeah.
So yeah, that very effective scene, very well done. And then they also see the Brotherhood execute someone on the street, and that just makes their hatred for the Brotherhood build more.
Yeah, I like how the film like only has these two main antagonists, the Brotherhood and the vampires. And they don't add
and
in, like,
the Brotherhood
a
is considered worse than the vampires, because the vampires are just they're creatures designed to kill. That is, they're doing their nature. The Brotherhood are people who have made the conscious decision to be really shitty.
Yeah.
And because of that, they're the worst.
Yeah. And since the film doesn't muddy up, the villains with like, random bandits or like the occasional like, random crazy person, like we are forced to focus on
like they're the only villain. They're the only shitty people in this movie, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah. Everyone else seems to be kind of, at least,
everyone else just trying to survive.
Decent. Yeah. Like, well, these guys go out of their way
to make things harder.
Yeah.
Yep. And so I like that scene because they're watching them execute this guy, and they just had that look on their face like those motherfuckers. Like it's again just very bleak. There's no dialogue. We just see it go down. Then we see a Santa vamp. That was just a funny little.
That was fun.
And
I liked that.
Martin shoots it with the bow, takes it down.
Fucking good shot too. Like, wow.
And that longbow, actually, the actor who plays Mister carved that himself.
That's cool. Wasn't he like some wasn't he on like some big TV show?
I'm not sure, but I didn't see a lot in his credits. But he also did write this movie too.
Oh, hell yeah!
So him and the director co-wrote it. But So and he really cares about this character too. He does a lot of good work.
Yeah.
Like, great performance. So yeah, I just thought that was a fun fact that he'd fucking carved this bow himself. So then they meet Willie, who is a former Marine that the Brotherhood basically left for dead in this porta potty.
Yeah.
And so now he joins their group. And there's no like, should we not trust him? They just take him in. Everyone just gets taken in. Nobody is screened really because everyone's just trying to survive. Might as well survive together.
It's like, oh, you got fucked over by the Brotherhood too. I guess we're friends, you know?
Exactly.
They did the same thing to me. Like that's immediate like friendship. Like we hate the same people.
Mm. And basically, Willie was in the war in the Middle East, and when all this vamp shit broke out, he was sent to help, and things got really muddy. Things got really complicated, and now he's just trying to fucking survive.
And I like this, how they just, they give us a little bit of world building. It's like, to answer the question, oh, why isn't the military doing something? Well, this is why.
Yeah, because
they couldn't.
They were just as, confused by this as we were. They're just people trying to do their jobs, and it's very hard to do when you've never had a vampire apocalypse before.
Yeah.
So then they make a plan to get back at the Brotherhood. So Belle runs up and basically acts like her baby is coming. And then he's like, well, where are the people that are with you? And she's like, right behind you. And they fucking knock the dude out. And Willie's like, you could be an actress. And then, so that's like one of the only like joke moments in the movie. No, that was fun.
Yeah.
And so they take Jebediah and these other ones hostage. They make the other two strip naked and run away.
Yeah.
And they take Jebediah. They tie him to a tree. They ask him about the sister. She apparently escaped. So at least they know she's out there alive, maybe.
Yeah.
And they carve a cross into his back and leave him for dead. Which, well, more on that later, but very effective scene where he's like trying to pray while his mouth is like gagged.
And he like goes like further and further into just like screaming for help as they're like leaving, and he's slowly coming to the realization that, oh yeah, they're actually leaving me.
Yep.
There's actually no one here to help me.
Yeah, very, very effective scene. Really enjoyed it. Because again, you're left with just the sounds of his screams.
Yeah. Like the sound design in this movie like is amazing.
Yeah. It leaves room for the dread to set in. And I really can't stop talking about how good this is. That's gonna be spoiler alert for the rest of this. Like I didn't dislike a whole lot. Like the majority of this is really well done. So I can't complain about a whole lot of things. So then after that, they head to the next checkpoint, which is they're getting closer to New Eden. Things are starting to get better. And at this new checkpoint, there's like a market, there's a festival with music. Things really seem like they're going right. They're dancing.
But good scenes don't really they don't last very long though.
No, they don't, because the Brotherhood drops from a helicopter vampires into this town just because they killed Jebediah.
Mm-hmm.
So most of the town is murdered by the vampires, because when they're literally dropping from the sky, it's kind of hard to, and also you had to drop off your weapons to get into this town.
Yeah, so only the people who granted weapons like have weapons. So most
are unarmed.
Everybody doesn't. Yeah. And
Willie had met this older lady that he was dancing with, and she got shot in the crossfire, and she dies. It was a good reveal. Like they all make it upstairs, and then you see that she was shot. He's like, man, she didn't even say one word the whole time we were going up them stairs.
Which I'd be crying a little bit.
Yeah, he was shook. He was shook. It's the only time we really see him like really like feel something.
Yeah. And
they,
like I think every side character has like their moment.
Yes.
Like that.
Like Belle's was with the little girl vamp because she's pregnant and gonna be a mother. The nun was with the other nun getting staked. Like everyone had their moment of like shit got real. or more real than it already was.
Yeah.
So then as they're leaving, Martin sees the little girl that Mr. was dancing with earlier, is like, you see just her legs sticking out from under a pile.
Yeah.
And like that haunted him.
That fucks him up.
Because he's like, every time I close my eyes, that's all I can see.
Yeah.
Because again, it was something, it was so nice. They were finally going to take a breath, and then no, like, and it's just more of a reason to keep moving forward.
Yeah. It's like this tragedy is like almost like worse than the others, in like due to the fact that it's both the Brotherhood and the vampires kind of together. Like both of them are to blame for this.
Burning the candle at both ends, essentially.
Yeah.
And also we see the sheriff. Is he like starting to turn? Like, it looks like, because he's got a neck injury and he's got the veins starting to appear, but like no one says anything.
Yeah.
I think Mr. knows, but he's leaving. So he's like, it's your guys' decision whether you want to stake him or not.
I think it's definitely implied, like especially with him asking Mr. to saying that they need good people.
Yeah,
like it might be him implying that he's probably gonna have to die soon. But I think it is implied that he's going to be turning though in the near future.
Mm-hmm. So then their car dies.
Yep.
And they have to continue on foot. And Martin says at this point, obviously they don't talk as much. It's more so just like they're like a pack. Like they know each person has a job.
Yeah.
And you just do that job. And also there's not a whole lot to talk about that isn't terrible anymore.
We just kind of like exist with them.
Exactly.
For a while.
And then the sister, while they're setting up their perimeter, sister's like, she finds this other statue. She has like, I think it's a Mary statue. I think she finds a Joseph statue. She has this moment of like, isn't that nice? And again, things are never nice for very long.
No. Because
then berserkers attack. And they all flee to a cornfield or a wheat field. And sister is falling behind because she's older and it's hard for her to keep up with all this.
Yeah.
And I think there's a point where she just realizes that she's in the back, and either she could slow them down trying to save her, or she can lead these vamps away from them and basically sacrifice herself. So she runs in the other direction, shoots a couple of them, but doesn't stake them. She comes across a scarecrow, which was like decent symbolism of Jesus on the cross.
Yeah.
And she looks up at it, asks for forgiveness, and then shoots herself in the head. Yeah. And Martin hears that gunshot followed by silence and kind of knows what happened, but doesn't really want to believe it.
Yeah.
That scene was very effective. Just like all the symbolism and just like bleak moments. And what did you think there, Cole?
Well, it's like we spend time with sister and then we lose her. And then we find her again, and then
we lose her again.
We immediately lose her again.
We find her just so we can watch her die.
Yeah,
which is
I think
worse.
I think it was the movie really, really letting the audience know, say, hey, literally anyone can die. Like this world doesn't care who you are at all. Like you're going, like shit just happens sometimes. Like sometimes your car just breaks down, and then you die out of shit that you couldn't control. And I think it was very powerful, and it really did show like the whole, like it showed again like this whole tone of the movie that just it's bleak, it's a rough time.
So good, so well done.
It is. Like, it was very, very good. And I loved her as like the character, even though she didn't really
all
say
the characters, like the actors and actresses, they all just nailed it. Like everybody gave what was required to make this thing good. No one was slacking. No one's here for a paycheck.
Everyone played their character.
Yes, like, very well. And it's hard to play a character with very little dialogue. Yeah, but they all just are very good at emoting, and it worked.
Yeah, like just watching sister just sitting there by herself, like the emotions on her face show that if she's like somber, thinking about something, like it's a lot of weight was on these actors, and they pulled through like amazingly.
So then basically everyone slowly gives up on waiting for her, except for Martin waits the longest. And he's like looking out into the nothing, like basically saying goodbye to her. And like, I think her death is probably one of the hardest on him.
Mm-hmm.
Like it really affects him because, that was one of the first people they picked up. And also he lost his mother. And I think she was one of the closest things he probably had to that.
Yeah.
So yeah, he really like that was a big one for him.
Yeah. I mean, just seeing like how happy he was when he saw.
Yeah, when they
Sister
found her at the festival.
Yeah.
Like
he was probably like struck like probably just as hard as like that little girl
mm-hmm.
from the town.
So then they find a bus, like it's into the wild, and so they stop at the bus and kind of get comfortable for a little bit. And again, these moments don't last long, but there's this moment of like, well, we're in the cold now. We haven't seen or heard a vampire in a while. Things are good.
Yeah.
But then Willie goes outside to use the bathroom and is taken and murdered without any vamp hitting the fence.
Yep.
And so Mr. wakes them up and is like, oh my God, where's Willie? And they find him in a tree, like tied up, having been like basically very sneakily murdered. So they're like, vamps can be strategic now?
Like his heart was like
ripped out.
Like, yeah, like it was very clean,
very
like,
brutal,
precise looking.
Yeah. So they're like, this is new. This doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And then Belle is taken while because they left her. She was basically having trouble. It's hard for a pregnant woman to keep running. Yeah. So she waited back at camp and then was taken. Okay. And they hear her screaming and Mister's like, it's a trap. Marvin's like, I don't fucking care at this point. Like, it's probably a trap, but I'm not just going to let her die in there.
Yeah.
So they both go in. Martin's in the lead though, because he's ready to save her. And basically they see her and she has lost her baby, which is just in this pile of blood in this tank. And we see that Jebediah has become a vamp, a berserker, and he can talk. And he's basically like the super vamp because he prayed. He's like, I prayed to God and he listened.
Yeah. Like he like becomes like he keeps like his consciousness and his self-awareness while also becoming a vamp.
Because he's one of the only people that wanted to be a vampire when he was turning. And so he dunks Martin in the blood tank, which I'm sure really riled him up.
Yeah.
And then Jebediah has a brief fight with Mister and actually nails his hands to the wall. Yeah. So really fucks Mister up. And then Martin stakes him in the back, but it doesn't quite kill him. And then Mister's like, how about this? And he fucking kicks him further into it, staking him through the heart, killing Jebediah, whose design was nice, but we didn't get a lot of him, but it's fine.
Yeah.
But then they see that Belle is turning and Martin has to have this very, very sad moment where he hugs her goodbye and then stakes her at the same time.
Which I think is this is the first time he stakes without anyone else helping him.
Yep. Well, besides Jebediah, but this is the first time he staked someone he like didn't want to.
Yeah.
On his own, and it was a reveal because you just see him hug her, and then as we pull out in the shot, we see he has staked her. So like it's a very like big moment for Martin, and also like again loses just a little bit more of himself. And it was also really sad to see all these characters go because we've spent so long with them.
Like this one, I was like, God, I was like, shit.
Because he lost the baby and then her. Like it's very, very sad stuff.
Yeah, I was just like, God damn, like this, like because she was in the movie, she was around for like a long time. Like she was
because she came in about 30 minutes in and was in pretty much the whole time.
Yeah.
So then basically Martin has to drive because Mister's hands are fucked up. And they get to the last checkpoint and they meet Peggy, who's the only person left there. And she shows them like she, uses a bow on these vamps. and she hits one and it doesn't die. And Martin, you can see how much this has affected Martin, the person who was, kind of, hesitant to stake anything, just immediately walks out there and just aggressively fucks that vamp up.
Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, this is when we get like this realization scene from Mister in the bathroom.
Yeah, he's watching Martin interact with a girl his age, which is the first time he's done it since probably before this happened.
Yeah.
But when he sees him stake that vamp, he's like, I don't think this kid needs to go on with his life. Like, I don't want him to become like me. And so Martin ends up, he sleeps in the bed with her, but it's very very casual. It's not overtly but very innocent.
They're kids.
They're kids.
Supposed to be kids, so.
And in the morning when he wakes up, Mister has gone and left him the truck and his necklace.
Yeah.
As like a remember me by. And so Martin and Peggy, they go to New Eden, and that's the end of the movie. They've arrived at the safe place, and everything seems like it's gonna be okay.
Yeah, like they get to like the border, and then it just kind of.
Yeah, they even like slowly roll past it, like this, like, oh man, we made it.
It's just like the music though, like makes me think that it's not going to be all the best though. Like that was.
I mean, there's a Stake Land too, so obviously it didn't go great, but at least for a while, for 6 years, he's gonna be okay. So that would make him, by the next movie, he's like in his 20s.
Yeah.
So I'm actually kind of curious to see what that looks like.
Yeah.
And that is Stake Land, which again, very impressed by. Just the whole movie, it was great tone all the way through. Nothing, I don't have any real complaints.
Like, I feel like I feel like if I think hard enough, I'll find something.
I mean, they're minor. I really would have to think about it, but I really don't have many. Like, the Jebediah thing was a little quick. Maybe we could have had more of him as like this head vamp kind of thing. But other than that, it's really hard to find much. So, Cole, what do you think the budget of this film was?
I will say like $700,000.
Close, $625,000. What was the box office?
Box office, I would say. Did it break a $500 million?
It lost money.
It lost
a lot of money. It made $33,245.
What? This movie, this fantastic film.
But I think I had never heard of it before, and you know me, I hear of most things. Yeah. So I just think nobody heard about it. I think if people watch this movie, they'll fucking love it. But I think it's one of those that probably wasn't marketed all that well.
Yeah, and it is like an indie film.
Yeah,
I guess.
Well, and it's made by Dark Sky, and I don't think the buzz was around this movie when it came out. This was 2010 when it came out.
Didn't it come out around the same time as like Zombieland too?
I thought Zombieland came out in 2009, 2008. It might have been 2010.
I don't know. I don't remember.
Let's find out right now.
Yep, 2009.
Yeah. Okay. So this was a year after Zombieland.
Yeah. And
you could make some comparisons, but Zombieland is a comedy.
Well, I feel like that just kind of maybe like since it came out a year after, people might
the hype was over.
Thought like people like oh it's like
it's like Zombieland but not funny.
Yeah.
But like that's a weird comparison to make to it because this movie is a bleak, somber tone. Zombieland, I love Zombieland. Zombieland's a great movie, but it's a mainstream comedy. Like it's meant to make you laugh.
Yeah.
This one's made to make you just feel hopeless.
Yeah, it like you feel like shit a little bit.
Exactly. but it does it well. So yeah, lost a lot of money, but again, I think it's just marketing. I think if enough people knew about this movie, it would have made some money.
Like that's
I mean, for fuck's sake, Demons made like $500 million. Uh, this could make a lot of money, but it just needs to be marketed better. Probably didn't have a big release either. It probably had a very limited theater release and then went like straight to video.
yeah.
That would have a lot to do with it not making a lot of money.
Yeah.
So, we talked about Mr.'s actor carving the bow. Also, Mr. wears the actor's mother's wedding ring. He thought that would add to the character having a wedding ring on his pinky finger. The makeup for the vamps took 2 hours each person.
Oof.
I mean, it's very elaborate, so I understand.
Yeah.
The film was also shot in 2 portions. So like shot in halves, and there was a 2-month break between the portions, probably because I think part of it was shot in like a warmer climate, and then part of it was shot in like those winter scenes.
Oh, I actually I did read up a little bit about this. I think the reason why is because they wanted to actually show off the passage of time.
Ooh,
Yeah.
even better.
They wanted the characters to actually look like they've changed a bit.
Right.
It was supposed to be like a gap within the movies. Like
I like that. That's very nice attention to detail.
And also another fun detail there, Mr.'s car broke down way more often than it drove.
It does look like a piece of shit. Like it does.
like when it broke down in the movie, that's probably them just actually like,
fuck it, we don't need a car anymore. They're on foot now. Like that's awesome. Also, in the early draft of the script, Belle was meant to be Mr.'s girlfriend. In the very early drafts, but I like where it went. I think it was a better decision to do it this way.
Yeah, I like him being like the loner character, but also like fully dedicated to like
exactly just Martin.
Yeah,
like he cares about the others, but Martin is the one he most is nurturing to because they've spent so much time together. He is like a father to him. So familiar faces. Connor Paolo, who played Martin, is also in Gossip Girl. So he went on to do that. Marianne Hagen, she played the doctor in that very small scene with Martin. She was in Halloween 6, which is the worst Halloween movie in the history of Halloween movies. Stuart Rudin, who played the bartender, he was in Silence of the Lambs and Little Nicky. Kelly McGillis, who played Sister, was in Top Gun.
Hell yeah.
And obviously Danielle Harris, who played Belle, she was in Halloween 4, 5, the Rob Zombie Halloween, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, Hatchet 2, 3, and 4, Urban Legend. She was in the Wild Thornberrys as the older sister, Debbie.
Yeah, I think she accepted the role for this movie while on set for Halloween for Rob Zombie's Halloween 2.
Yeah, I think Halloween 2 came out in 2009. But this might have been filmed around the time she was finishing up that.
Because this came out in 2010.
Yeah.
Didn't it?
So, it could have been filmed around the same time. Danielle Harris does a bunch of horror films. Like her filmography is huge. This is the stuff I know that she's done. Also, she did Laid to Rest 2, Holliston, which is a great TV show. And what was that last one I wrote down? Oh, See No Evil 2, that horrible See No Evil sequel. So, yeah. She has and obviously Wild Thornberrys. We all fucking grew up on it. She's Debbie. But so many movies. She's probably the biggest star in this film. So Cole, final thoughts on Stakeland and then hopes for Stakeland 2.
I love this movie. It really did kind of shake my expectations just away. It was gone. Like it blew them away. It was amazing. The effects were awesome. The sound design was great. The cinematography was great. Everything about the characters was great. I would give this a definite must watch, honestly. Like a must watch out of 10. Like
must watch.
It's very, very good. Very worth your time.
Yes. Hopes for Stakeland 2.
I hope it's more of Stakeland 1 a little bit. I hope we get a little bit of a continuation from the characters. And if we don't, I hope and we go to some other group of characters, I hope they carry the same style and themes as the last movie, and
Mhm.
maybe explain things a little bit, maybe dive a little deeper into like the ecology of the vamps, or maybe some other, like, like group that's causing trouble other than the Brotherhood.
All right. Yeah, I would say yes. Watch this movie. If you like vampire movies, if you like zombie
Yeah.
apocalypse movies, if you like something a little more bleak, something like a good story. If you want a good story, it's only an hour and 40 minutes. It's not a long watch. Fucking Army of the Dead was almost 2.5 hours. Okay. This is worth your time. This is worth way more than $33,245, people. Okay.
Yes.
Um, I hope State Lane 2 is good. I hope it isn't like The Lost Boys, where the first movie is like amazing and the sequels are
Yeah.
just garbage. I
Yeah.
hope that doesn't happen. I hope we stay consistent. It doesn't. I don't expect it to be this good. Obviously, I didn't have any expectations for this movie, but I just want it to be watchable. That's all I want.
Yeah.
All right, so join us next time for Stake Land 2. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification for all the podcasts that we do on this channel. Until next time, stay safe and stay nerdy.